It's been a long 2 years, hasn't it? I certainly hope and pray that you had as wonderful of a Thanksgiving as you can remember. We certainly did. I literally don't remember the last time I enjoyed Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade that much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's always pretty good. But this year there was something special about it. Don't you think? Well, after an incredible spread with all of the fixing, the cherry on top was that we as a family watched old videos. And before you knew it, we'd watched them for almost 5 hours. I think we laughed the most when we came upon this one.
Doing jumps?
Yeah.
Oh! All right. Well.
I'm happy you laughed at that. I wasn't sure if you think I was like a horrible parent. But I think you'll see where this goes. You see, Josh had been in gymnastics class, and they were learning on a trampoline, a nice, soft, cushy trampoline, how to do jump sits. You land on your tushy, and then you bounce back up on your feet. Well, whenever Josh saw a camera, he always hammed it up. And he decided to show off a little bit. And so when Mom said, would you like to do some jumps or some bouncing, some jumping, he said, okay, in his mind, I'm going to do a jump sit on the hardwood floor. Watching the hopes and fears of our own flesh and blood's first years reminded me of a powerful story I read recently. Jack, a 2-year-old, leans on his father's knee. Daddy, tell me a bunny story. Rob tears his gaze away from his computer screen. What was that, son? Asks Rob. Tell me a bunny story, says Jack, one with a truck in it. Rob sighs as his glance swings back to the screen. His paper is due in 2 days. On the other hand, there's only so much time until this little boy grows up and stops listening to his dad's stories. A bunny story, asks Rob. And that little blonde head bobbed happily. With a truck in it. With a truck in it, repeated Rob. Okay, climb up here. So after placing Jack on his knee, Rob begins to spin a tale of this mischievous bunny that gets into all kinds of trouble while zipping around in a great big truck. Well, to keep from overtaxing his imagination, because he did have a paper due, he diverted back to his stock villain in every bunny story he ever told, the big bad wolf. And so Rob begins introducing the wolf into the tale. No wolf, Daddy, Jack insists. No wolf. How can you have an adventure story without a wolf? Jack, how does the bunny story always end? And the bunny lived happily ever after, right? I know the end of the story, so do you. The bunny's going to be just fine. Jack covers his dad's mouth with the sternest manner that a toddler possibly could and repeats, no wolf. Rob sighs and replies, okay, Jack, it's okay. No wolf. Already, says Robin Myers, the author of this powerful story, at the age of 2, the little boy has an understanding of evil. If he had not already been introduced to evil, she says, he would not have feared the wolf. But since he perceives its destructive nature, he thinks nothing of editing the world to make evil disappear. What a wonderful gift that would be this first Sunday of Advent. Editing the world to make evil just disappear. A world without evil. A world without the big, bad wolf. We recently had some beloved friends over for dinner, and we talked the night away. And I was reminded of how much love and respect I have for Lynn and Serge and all that they had been through. You see, her brother, who is differently abled, needs 24/7 supervision. And the strength that she and her family has had through their hopes and fears is inspiring. It's a strength I've seen time and time again in 30 years in my counseling and in my coaching. And I've seen repeatedly again and again in 20 years of ministry. It's a strength that Rabbi Harold Kushner captures much better than I. I have seen weak people become strong, he writes. Timid people become brave. Selfish people become generous. I have seen people care for their elderly parents, for brain-damaged children, for wives in wheelchairs for years, even decades. And I have asked myself, where do people get the strength to keep doing that for so long? Where do they get the resources of love and loyalty to keep going? Kushner continues, the only answer I come up with is when we are weary and out of strength, we turn to God. And God renews our strength so we can run and not grow weary, so we can walk and not feel faint. Help us, Lord, on our way. In times like today, on this first Sunday in Advent, in times of persistent difficulty, in times of suffering, in times when our world seems to be crumbling, in times of our greatest need, we will receive strength from beyond ourselves. That strength comes from God. Jesus warns his disciples in this morning's text that the days ahead will be difficult. But hope, the hope on this first Sunday in Advent, is that they are not alone. Neither are we. Friends, there is something divinely powerful, divinely meaningful about being grateful through thick and thin. Grateful through the best times in your life when you couldn't imagine anyone on all of earth being more blessed than you. Grateful through the worst of times in your life when you couldn't imagine anyone being more cursed. Somehow or another, eventually, you got through that utter darkness and into the light that our visitor shared, that the Christ child brought to earth. Grateful that you can securely and comfortably look back on it and you can laugh at the jump sits because you can more clearly see that God was with you the entire time, helping you, supporting you, nudging you in the right direction, and carrying you when you couldn't even imagine carrying on. There is something divinely powerful, divinely meaningful about being grateful that we sing each year to that babe wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Amen. Amen.